Everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Brooklyn. I was actually born in Brooklyn. Yeah, they say Brooklyn is the number one hustling capital of the world. I'm sure many of you sitting here in the room are from Brooklyn and can agree with that. And I think that it's very important as being a hustler slash entrepreneur to leverage your knowledge and your efforts and to basically pivot within, which I like to call. So without further ado, the Lion Group, I'm Daniel, founder, Adina, co-founder of the Lion Group. She actually flew specially in from Amsterdam, so let's give her a warm round of applause.
Thank you.
Like I said, I'm from Brooklyn originally, but I've lived in Israel for plenty years, so you'll hear that on my accent shortly, and now I live in Miami, so I am making my rounds. However, Brooklyn is really where everything began. Actually, right across the street, there's a place called American Place, and we'll get to that in a few moments. So, legitimizing reselling of proper brands, popular brands on Amazon. So how the Lion Group came about, my story, which maybe is inspiring. However, Dima, who was talking a few minutes earlier, definitely causes me to minimize my story. Like, kudos for that, man. You started your career by taking people on, what is that called? The bicycles that you ride in the back. Okay. So we're going to speak about the risks of retail arbitrage on Amazon, the love-hate relationship between popular brands and Amazon. Being on Amazon signifies staying relevant in today's retail landscape. The reseller challenges of transforming a non-transparent relationship with their arbitrage brands to legitimize one. How strategic partnerships with resellers can help brands navigate the challenges they are facing on Amazon and improve their overall e-commerce image and customer experience. So I just want to point out something very important. Many of us sitting in the room here who are businesses are basically reselling products on Amazon. We have a tendency to use a lot of sophistication, being somewhat a detective, a Robin Hood, there's many different ways to call it. And these are obviously very, very good talents to have, which, creates a lot of success and bigger bird's eye view picture and growth. However, many, many different things are not under our control, and I will get to that right now. So, arbitrage, as many of you guys know, is basically purchasing an item. So it's funny, this is Poland Spring. It's a generic water brand here in the New York area, I guess. I live now in Miami. There's a different brand. I believe they're called Zephyr Hills or similar. You have actually local supermarkets who purchase Poland Spring from the New York area and they resell it over there for a much higher price than the local water. And the reason is very simple. You have people who I guess are New Yorkers or they prefer the taste of this water bottle and they are willing to pay extra. So arbitrage is basically American Place across the street. Approximately 13, 14 years ago, I walk in as a customer. I'm a friendly guy. I knew the manager. His name was Mustafa. I actually went across the street a few moments ago to see if he's still there. Unfortunately, he's not. I wanted to say hi. So he had a shipment that arrived of Polo Ralph Lauren button-down shirts that were beautiful shirts. They were around 400 pieces or so. I paid $20 for each one of them. I bought all of the 400. I loaded it in my SUV. And then I shipped the products to Israel, and we sold it over there for probably $60, $65, right? So basically, the simple concept of arbitrage is, buying a certain brand or a product that people want to buy and recognizing that in market A you can get it for an X amount and then sell it in market B for usually a higher amount, and it's a big business that's been around for many, many years, and it's going to stay for many years, and people do it in every single category. So yeah, I began my journey by doing it with branded apparel. I was going to retail stores, discounted retail stores, American Place, Century 21 department stores, which Adina worked for quite a while, and outlet stores from Jersey Gardens to Woodbury Commons, West Coast of America. We did Nevada, California, Arizona. At some point, I had an army of 20, 30 people going and buying, and we were just identifying opportunities of how to buy product that had a stronger demand at that point internationally. It began in Israel, escalated to Switzerland, Australia, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, and Asia, of course. And yeah, so my journey began at around, it's blocked.
Can you move? Yeah.
No, I have it here
No,
actually.
it's okay. You move it.
Oh, cool. So yeah, so 2009, I began right across the street, American Place. So I had a cute business. I was going to outlet malls and shopping centers, buying, taking pictures, feeding my customers, and a bit of manipulation, of course, Brooklyn, bribing store employees, district managers, and whatever not, and in order to, basically convince them to sell to me as much product as I wanted. The challenge was that at the beginning it was very easy, but at some point when I kept coming back, they told me, we really have like these policies. We don't allow resellers. What are you actually doing with the merchandise? You told us you're buying for your friends and family in Israel, but now we see you're coming back every day. So it really didn't make a lot of sense to them. So I had to become creative. So I remember one time in the Jersey Gardens outlet mall, I actually, brought with me like printouts that I printed at home, and I just basically wrote like, "Do you work in Jersey Gardens?" ? And do you want to make some extra income? ? If so, please call me. So I posted it like in the fast food area. I handed it out to store employees, and my phone started blasting. And at one point, I basically told them, "Listen, guys, I'm sitting here in my car in the parking lot. Here are gift cards. These are the pictures of what I want you to buy, and I just want you guys to go in the store, buy as much as you can from these items, meet me here, and I'll pay you cash." Meaning commission per item to motivate them. And basically I was always looking for ways to break the system. So if I was getting thrown out of one store, I would go to another. If it was a city or a state, I would go to a different city and state. And that was pretty much the story of my life for a couple of years, which was great because it taught me so many different things. And that's that. So as this all was happening, I decided to open up a few multi-brand retail stores as well. And the reason for that was so I can actually have direct accounts with brands, right? So I was buying a lot of Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger from the outlets. At one point, I was buying a lot of Abercrombie and Fitch and Hollister. I don't know if you guys know the brand. It used to be very hot and popular. And I was really dominating in that field. Like I had customers, wholesalers from all around the world that just wanted me to buy as much products as possible. However, at one point I was challenged by a few customers who told me, "You know what, Daniel, we also want Levi's and we want Nike and Adidas and whatnot, and I don't think you're really going to be able to get that from the outlet stores, like due to the consistency." And therefore, I thought to myself, wouldn't it be nice if I open up like a multi-brand retail store and I actually approach the brands and I get a direct account with them, and then I can wholesale the products. So I went ahead and I did that, and I opened up several stores, and I partnered up with a few store owners as well. And now I have my army going around, doing retail arbitrage around the country, and at one point, we're also buying through our retail stores, and we're shipping, and our warehouse was actually here in Brooklyn at that point, and we were doing great, and we were, outgrowing our warehouses. At one point, we were juggling between like 4 or 5 different warehouses all around. We even had one here on McDonald Avenue. And that was great. And at one point, my biggest customer at that time in the wholesale/retail arbitrage diverting brands business was a website in the United Arab Emirates called souk.com. And they were big, and they were buying plenty of products from us, and they were a good customer, because many times you have customers who just want to buy like 5 SKUs, the most popular ones that everybody wants, and that's not where you're going to make your money. You really need those customers, at least back then, who buy 10, 15 different brands, and they buy many colors and styles and whatnot, because it's a game that you're playing, and if you keep, trying to order from Nike the same 5 popular styles in huge volumes, they're obviously going to shut you down. So These Souk.com guys were amazing. They were really buying everything, and they were paying good, and they were picking up on time and whatnot. Apparently, behind the scenes, as all of this was going on, and it was confidential information at the time, Amazon acquired them, and it became the Amazon of the whole MENA region over there, which is pretty much the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan, I believe, Egypt. And they call me up and they say, Daniel, listen, we have a problem. We're obviously interested in taking all the merchandise that you have in your warehouse for us. However, now we're an Amazon company, and there's no way in the world where we can pay you unless you open up a vendor central account and you create the listings and you take, the images and the content and whatever not. And at that point, it was my entire cash flow sitting on this customer, because they were big, good customers, and I trusted them, but now I knew I was in a very, very tough spot. And that tough spot was actually the biggest gift I got from God at the time that really helped me, pivot to where I went next and to where I am today. And it was a 6-7 months process of plenty of trial and error and hiring and frustration and you name it. But we opened up the Vendor Central account, and we uploaded and we created the listings, and we had a very boutique warehouse at that point. We weren't capable of doing any of this, and we used the sidewalks and the backyards and whatever not in order to get it going, because it was extremely, extremely tedious. So it took approximately 6-7 months, and thank God we finally got that entire shipment out of the warehouse, and we finally got paid. And I guess as our celebration for that crazy milestone, we said, wow, we became Amazon experts, or at least we thought at the time we were, which we clearly weren't, but that's what we thought. And we're like, okay, so let's open up a Seller Central account and, test the waters, because we're like Amazon, like we work for Amazon, or Amazon worked for us, whatever. At least that was the story we were telling ourselves. So we opened up an Amazon Seller Central account, did a few small tests, shipped a bit of this, a bit of that. I think it was Ralph Lauren and maybe one other brand. And like all of a sudden, I felt like, like these kids during COVID looking at their Robinhood account every second, like the charts and the sales. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, wow, 3 minutes, 4 minutes refreshing, we're selling. So we knew we were up to something very, very good. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, I guess, the timeline here. Yeah, so 2020 we'll speak about in a second, but basically in 2017 is when, as a reseller, I dabbled in the world of Amazon. I already had access to many brands right through the retail arbitrage, going to stores and the retail stores that I owned at that point. And very quickly we became a top 1% seller on Amazon for the obvious reasons. We were selling Nike and Ralph Lauren and 50 other popular brands which people search on Amazon every second for. So there was nothing that we needed to do on our end, meaning we didn't have any brand registry. We were just buying and reselling, and velocity was crazy. And we hired and we made a lot of improvements, and we were really in a good place. But at some point, it started really to bother us as a company that we're really only as good as our sales yesterday, because we have zero transparent relationships with any of these brands. And at any given moment, and we obviously had those when we got shut down for one or another reason, and all of a sudden, one brand shuts you down, boom, 30% of your revenue for that month drops, and then another brand, and it became a very hectic, problematic cycle as a business owner to live in. On one hand, you're growing your business, you're hiring nonstop, your sales are growing, and you're up to something. And obviously, Amazon was kept on growing like crazy, but we felt like it's a big problem. So, okay, so the risks of retail. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Can we go back for a second, please? Oh, here we go. My bad. I'm new to this. I'm sorry. So at 2020, the reason the Lion Group was established was basically a DBA, a doing business as name, to be the front line of our e-com business that's been around from 2014. Basically, we were growing and growing. We purchased, a building, which is our headquarters today in Oceanside, Long Island, our warehouse combined with our offices. Up until then, like I said, we were juggling between 4.5, 5 locations, and we were just, growing nonstop. However, it really bugged us as a company that we're only as good as our sales yesterday, and we have to find something better. We went to the drawing board. It was a pretty intense process, trying to figure out how we can do something within what we're currently doing that can actually grow nonstop with any limitations whatsoever. So I have my wholesale business that specializes in international wholesale. No real way to grow over there. Once again, I'm reselling, diverting brands. I don't have any type of transparent relationships. We have a retail experience, same idea, problematic, the reselling on Amazon. So at one point we said, you know what, we pretty much cover everything that needs to be done on Amazon, and we're very good at it. We're very good at logistics, warehousing, finding solutions to problems is something that we really feed off as a team. And we're like, let's just reach out to the world right now and offer them to partner up with us where we can be a strategic retail partner and basically have transparent relationships and use our strength of our past experiences as leverage. And what I mean by that is, a company like ourselves who grew and became pretty much good at, logistics and reverse logistics and understanding the landscape of retail due to the retail stores that we owned and operated, understanding international marketplaces because we did wholesale all around the world. We had plenty of value to bring. And then, of course, brand protection. And it's funny because when I say brand protection, I try to tell the brands that I speak to, the reason why I'm your brand protection guy is not because I invented a software that can block other sellers of selling your product tomorrow, but it's really because I'm the one who found the gaps and the cracks in the system throughout my career to buy as much product as I want when I want, even though you stepped up your game and you try to have your distribution much tighter. So I gave you guys a few examples from, the retail arbitrage, hiring an army at one point, going between every single outlet store. And then, of course, having people who work in malls walking in their lunch break and opening up, retail store accounts. At some point, we were buying from distributors of brands all around the world. So let's say we partnered up with the distributor of Nike in Switzerland that would divert the product back to the US and all of that great stuff. So I'm like, listen, if you're a brand and you care about brand protection, you need somebody like me sitting on your table so I can give you guidance and we can work together, better protect your brand. So that was also a very, interesting value point that we brought to the table. So the risks of retail arbitrage on Amazon, as you guys can all imagine, and I think that was the driving force that kept us all the time thinking to ourselves, we got to stop with this reselling nonsense. And I still resell plenty, but meaning I can't just rely on the reselling, and I have to find a way to use, what we have to offer and really create something that can grow nonstop. So if you don't mind just moving the image of myself here on the screen. Thank you very much. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware with your account, getting deactivated, right? Ed Rosenberg here, he's the king when it comes to helping sellers in that regard. So I'm sure many of you heard or experienced something uncomfortable with Amazon. Many of these problems occur because brands are becoming much more aggressive. So imagine that you have an amazing reselling business and you do 20, 30, 10, $5 million a year in sales, and you have a great team and you have a great life and you're happy and your business is doing well. But what happens if tomorrow morning the brand decides that enough is enough and we're starting to enforce and we'll do IP and we'll do whatever you want. So yes, back in the days, there was much more flexibility. We would receive IP complaints almost every single day from all sorts of attorneys trying to impress brands and trying to get to something. The one thing that was a company policy from day one by us is that we never touched a product unless we had full untouched paper trail of where exactly the merchandise is coming from and where it went. So in our case, it was easy. The majority of the times we have our retail stores. If we have a direct account with the brand, they sell it to the retail store. Then the retail store sells it to our e-com company. Amazon files, meaning the brand files IP. We send, seller performance invoices showing them clearly how we got the product. And usually within 24 to 48 hours, we were good. Those would be removed. Our listings would be, activated. However, as many of you guys sitting here know, the game has significantly changed in that regards as well. And that's another reason why I encourage resellers to really think at the bigger picture and to try, to pivot or to create some type of, relationship with the brands. Like we became very creative in that regards. We have a department which we call it transformation. So today we have basically 3 departments in our company. We have our reselling division, which day by day is becoming smaller and smaller due to the transparent division growing. But we also have the transformation division, which is actually, for me, I love trying to do the work there. It's very intense and complicated. But we basically reach out to a brand. Steve Madden, for example, a brand that we partnered up with, we used to resell them all day long, both on a wholesale level and, of course, on Amazon. And, I felt like I had a good enough relationship with the brand and a key executives at the brand. And I decided to, try to come clean and say, hey guys, this is what I was doing until now, but going forward, I really feel like I have a lot of value to bring to the table, and therefore, let's find a way to work together. And they really appreciated it, and we use them today as ambassadors also to help us, with the more trickier brands that we're trying to bring on board. So I'm saying, us being resellers, Brooklyn, many of us here, sophistication, complications, we live based off of that. Many times you really can use those and capitalize on those. So yeah, so obviously we have, the issue, brands becoming, much more problematic when it comes to us, reselling their products. We have to be careful about that. Then we have the love-hate relationship between popular brands and Amazon. So we speak to many brands. They don't like Amazon. They don't want to be on Amazon. Amazon for them is maybe cheap. This is, of course, changing now because people are clearly seeing that if you're not on Amazon, you basically don't exist.